Hello and welcome to this month's episode of All Things Business, the podcast. We're joined by Jasmine Mbye, who's the founder of the Like Me CIC, Samantha Bradford, who's the founder of Simplicity Financial Planning, and Rachel Adams, who's a partner at DFA Law. On this month's episode, we'll be celebrating International Women's Day. Our guests talk with us about their own careers, what they'd like the world to look like for their own daughters in the future, as well as advice to young women starting out their careers. Thank you for joining me, ladies. We are going to be celebrating International Women's Day. So let's just start by, if each of you could just tell me a little bit about yourself. So we'll start over with Samantha.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm Sam or Samantha, but it's interesting. I used to always say, call me Sam, but have a Samantha on my business cards because in my profession as a financial advisor, a lot of people expect me to be a man turning up at the door when you go face to face, and they'd sort of always look behind my shoulder to see where the real financial advisor was. So I've always put Samantha down from forever now, but everybody tends to call me just Sam. So who am I? So I'm Sam, as we now know. Yeah. And I run my own business, which is called Simplicity Financial Planning, but I've been in financial planning and financial services for nearly 30 years, and recently came out to set my own business up after working in very large financial institutions forever, because I wanted to keep things simple for people to understand. What I found was that we inherently made things complicated in our world, and I was really clear that when I come out, I want to actually provide a safe space for everybody to step into and ask any question about finances and not feel like they feel really small, and then they can actually get confident about saving and investing for their future and their families.
Lovely. Hey, Rachel.
Rachel Adams, and I'm a solicitor and partner over at a firm just across the road, DFA Law in Northampton. So I specialise in family law, so specifically divorce and finances. So that's my kind of area. So love that. Love making a difference, trying to make a difference to people at really what is usually their most kind of vulnerable period of time in their life, the most traumatic period of time. So get a lot of satisfaction from that. So yeah. Same thing, try to make it simple. It can get really confusing, and it's overwhelming. It's something that we do every day. It's so easy when you do, you know what you're doing, and it's kind of, okay, it's nothing to worry about. But that doesn't help somebody who's going through it for the first time and all the anxiety and, stress that goes with it. Yeah. So it's not just about the legal process. It's about helping them get through that legal process and coming out stronger the other side.
Yeah. Really, and Jasmine?
Hi, so I'm Jasmine Mbye, and I work with women and teen girls and ensuring that they can develop their confidence to take control of their lives and stop hiding away, wearing a mask, so that they can show up more authentically, they can speak up more confidently, and that they can allow their gifts and their abilities and talents and skills to just shine boldly. And I do that through speaking, training and coaching, and it's my own business that I run doing that since 2018. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. So just on that note, I'm going to jump straight in there because one of my questions is actually about the mask. So I was watching your Bradford TED Talk and you spoke about the mask. Yeah. Can you just explain this concept a little bit more for us and maybe suggest how that could apply to women in business?
The mask. So the mask is, I think, I link it to women in business, professional women, that kind of almost I have to be something. And it's I have to be something that isn't true to me, not necessarily that I'm not it at all, but I'm trying to be that thing all the time. And so as a woman in business, like feeling that I have to be maybe like perfect all the time, I can't show my emotions, I can't have a bad day, just this, I have to be what other people think I should be. And I think as women in business, it's about that societal pressure, even simple things. Like years ago, I remember hearing about a campaign of, should women have to wear heels? Why do women feel that they need to? And sometimes it's this mask of I need to wear these heels, I need to have this power suit, whatever it be, to show up in a way that presents something that actually may not really resonate with who I am. And masks, I was having a conversation with someone recently, they can be helpful at times because, sometimes we wake up and think, oh God, I don't feel like it today. Be like, okay, here goes. And you're a professional and you've got to be professional, but it's that kind of thing of, I know what I'm doing. I know I just need to get through the day and then I can come and be like, oh Lord, I'm falling apart. Whereas the mask is like almost that, for me anyway, that I'm actually not in control anymore. I'm now wearing this thing as if it's who I am. And I'm identifying with that. and almost not aware of where I stop and the mask begins. And so that's what I was talking about in my TEDx talk. And I think as women in business, quite often we feel that we've got to be, you know, because it's a man's world, you know, we've got to be like a man. So we have to be strong and we have to be this, rather than just being, you know, if we're caring, if we're, you know, compassionate, whatever our strengths or gifts, abilities and, you know, personality type may be, rather than just allowing that to come forth and still be a woman in business. We feel that we have to be something else to succeed. And I think that's how often women are showing up wearing a mask in business in particular and in the professional world.
Definitely. Do you, either of you feel like you've ever had to wear a mask?
Completely. I came out the corporate world where I was in a male-dominated industry. I still am, to be fair, but because I run my own business now, I can show up how I want to show up. And then I started in January 2020 with the new business, and actually then the pandemic hit, which was good because it really allowed me to really reflect on what I wanted. So my previous life in the large financial organisation I was in an all-male team. I was the only female financial planner in the country as well. So I really was surrounded by men, to the point where in team meetings we'd have people stand up and present and they'd go, "So guys and lady," and I felt that I was being singled out, and I'd say, "Just call me guys. I can identify as a guy, it's fine." It was only when I went on a leadership program, a coaching program in the bank, that I realised how masculine I'd become, and that's what needed to change. And so rather than pursue the career development I was going for, I decided to actually be honest and say, I'm actually going to leave within the next 12 months. I don't know when. I need to get everything sorted. I need to know how I'm going to do it, because obviously with the industry I'm in, it's very heavily regulated. So I needed to make sure I set everything up. And then I stepped out. I'm really glad I did. And I now have 2 advisors, me and my daughter, who's 26 this year. Oh, wow. So both female financial advisors, mother-daughter practice. So I'm really proud of that. And 2 support staff who are also both women. So we're didn't design it that way, but we're an all-female business.
Yeah.
And we have the dogs running around the office. We have chickens in the garden. I've built an office in the garden.
But you're going to say in the office then.
Come in from time to time. And clients, now that things are opened up, they love coming in because they see a slice of something completely different to a traditional corporate style office, where, especially when talking about finances, Rachel, you mentioned about the emotions that you're dealing with your clients. It's the same with money. People find it an incredibly emotive topic because they feel like they're going to get told off. So if they can come into an environment where they feel colours on the wall, flowers, we have a candle, we burn a candle every day, and it's just those little touches that I think in a masculine world, I'm not being horrible about men at all, but it's, you know, there's places for different things. And some people want the reassurance, I suppose, of a man turning up in a pinstripe suit and a flashy car, but I don't feel that that's the type of client that I feel I'm going to serve best. So that's how I find things. So with your mask there, Jasmine, you're absolutely right. We do tend to, as women, feel we have to show up in a certain way, but I want to break those barriers down and show people that actually, on the other side of that, the client will feel more alienated if you do that. They want the authenticity of who you really are.
It's quite interesting. So for me, I think the mask, I completely relate to what you're saying in terms of kind of being, but for me, sometimes the mask in terms of a work situation is actually quite helpful. Yeah. Because I deal a lot with litigations, you know, contested proceedings, contested financial proceedings, so court-based work. So a lot of the correspondence is of a particular type. So I'm not talking about physically the mask, but I sort of mean, you know, the figurative, the metaphorical mask. It kind of helps because actually it's not at all who I am. I'm actually such a soft natured person. I'm not at all this kind of hard-faced, lawyer, litigator that people sort of see through correspondence. So it helps for me, I feel, to have that kind of almost that barrier, because that isn't the real me. I can go in, I can do that effectively, and I know what I need to be doing and I know what I need to be saying. And I don't necessarily mean with my clients. I'd like to think it's very different for my clients. But certainly as far as sort of my persona for work is concerned, with the other side, if you like, to call them the other side, the opposition. But that isn't at all who I am. And so I feel I have a good grasp of the fact that isn't me, because the real me actually goes home and can't stop kissing and cuddling my girls, and kind of, I'm actually really soft and sensitive, and worry about things. Would hate to upset anybody, which I think is the last. So it's not as though I'm some kind of ball breaker. I think people think that you are, but you're just not.
And I think that's the power then, because as I said, the mask, it really can benefit, but it's just that, like you said, I know that's not me. I know that has a time and a place.
Yeah, exactly that.
And so when you can put it on, and then you're like, oh, come here, little darling, and you can be your true self. And I think that's where sometimes we can lose that, because we play the role for so long, or life happens and then we can forget that. But I think when we do remember it, exactly that, we can employ it and empower ourselves with it.
It's interesting, because since I took on my own business, I started to learn or get interested, I suppose, in all different types of coaching. Interestingly, I mean, completely separate to what I do professionally, but I've really enjoyed it. So I started pursuing money coaching first of all, and that's how I really understand why there's so much emotion tied up in these discussions. I hadn't realised before, but it led on to actually coaching around energies. And one of the programs I've just completed talks about soft energy, soft power. I don't know whether any of you've heard this before, but it was really fascinating, and now I see it everywhere with women in particular. So it's helping women get out of overwhelm and get out of feeling that they have to be this superwoman type character. And even if you're not working professionally, you're a mum, you might see these people if you got kids at school, those people that are on the PTA, and then there might be the charity person, and they've got to bake the buns for this and that and the other, and actually they're just continually in overwhelm all the time, because they have to feel the need to be busy all the time, and all they're doing is actually burning out. So this mask that you've explained, Rachel, about where you need to actually put it on at certain times in your profession to give the reassurance to the clients you're representing, we call that like a queen energy, where you're actually stepping up into the queen and having your boundary. You've got your realm here, and you are doing it for your realm. And it's like, and I talk to the girls in the office about this a lot, and they know it, and they go, you know what, Sam, you were really in your queen energy then when you were talking to that client. And I love it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So, there's lots of different types of energies you can step into at the right time. Right. Warrioress might be someone that you want to get when you want to get things done quickly. Short bursts there. Then you might want to be more of a mother type, where you're actually softer and able to really get onto someone's wavelength. That I could talk about it all day, but it's
interesting though, isn't it? Just in terms of like knowing your boundaries and knowing what, actually is appropriate for you at a given time and in a given moment. So it's empowering rather than anything else.
Exactly.
And that's what I think is the key thing, isn't it? It's about being empowered. So a question I always encourage those I'm working with to ask is this helping me? Is this serving me? About just everything in life. Wearing this mask, is it serving me? Because if it is, as you described, it's serving me, then great. But if you're doing something, as you said, and you're actually feeling tired because pretending that you're okay when you're not really, all of that, that's when it's not serving you. So
it's okay not to be okay.
Of course
everybody will have something in their life, their history, whatever it is, that means that things aren't okay, and there are times that you need to take a step back and look at it and reflect and think, okay, and get some help if that's needed, and it's fine to accept that. And I think it's a real change, even the last 10 to 15 years, I feel, that people now, it's acceptable to say that. Yeah. Whereas I do think for a long time, was it really? You just have to get on with it and
step up a lip.
Yeah.
The British way.
Yes, right.
I think the Americans have definitely stolen the show when it comes to the amount of professionals that can help you with different aspects of your mind. Funnily enough, actually, when I did money coaching, it was the American program that I plugged into. There's very few over here, and it's a very new area. People go, well, I go to an advisor to talk about my pensions or my investments. What do you mean I need to understand how I actually feel about money? But actually, it really impacts everything in your life.
It's at the core of everything, isn't it? How we feel, how we think. It is at the core of everything we do, anything anyone does.
That's it.
So, and there's this stereotype that women being emotional is a negative thing, and it doesn't have to be. We're talking now, and we're so aware of these emotions, and put into practice. Why should that be a bad thing?
Absolutely.
Can allow you to connect. And something you were saying earlier, Sam, when you talked about, you've got your chickens and stuff. One of the perks you mentioned about lockdown having started then, one of the perks I think for lockdown was it really brought the whole person.
Yes.
As much as we were a little box on the screen because we were Zooming, meetings and everything like that, you actually got a little bit of an insight. You could peek into someone's home, and so I remember like doing networking meetings, and you see this man in a pink bedroom, and I mean everything behind him is bright pink.
Is it their daughter's
Because
bedroom?
It's his daughter's bedroom. Do you know what I mean? But it was so nice because actually
that.
you got to see this man as a man, a whole man. He's a father.
Absolutely
He's not
right.
just a suit. Yes, exactly that. And so that was really lovely. And the little things like things that predominantly mums have been contending with for years, which is the juggle, your children and work. And so you had not just mums now, but obviously predominantly was mums, but not just mums going, oh, sorry, because you can hear their children in the background, because obviously the first lockdown, the kids were at home as well as parents working from home. And so it just became a bit more like, do you know what? It's okay to be all of you rather than just that part of you allowing to be seen. Actually, this is who I am. I am a mother and a wife, and I am a professional, and I'm in this. I'm a dad. It was just so
because
nice
of
to
the
see
age
that
of
holistic.
my children, so they're 3 and 7. They've just turned 3 and 7. I still have Fridays that sort of I'm working, I'm available, but I have the Friday with my 3-year-old because she doesn't start school until next September. Well, not even this September, the following September. So I am often in the car, but I will take hands-free calls, clearly, just to specify. And, I always sort of say, look, I have got a small person in the background. And if you're happy with that, and there's sort of generally, Mummy, when are you going to be finished? Or, excuse me, Mummy. So, and I think it's, people seeing that is, and it's good to show that versatility. It doesn't always have to be office-based. You can do your job effectively in different ways. You don't have to be sort of, in a completely quiet office with no small people around. That's part of who we are,
It's the charm of it and bringing the human side to your profession.
Yeah.
And I think that's important if people, especially with what you do, if you're helping people with family law, then they want to see that you actually have a family and understand it as well.
Yeah, and you can relate to what they're going through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That connection, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Just funny you saying about where you can work from anywhere. One of the dreams I have, we did take ownership of a camper van during lockdown, and now things are opened up. I said, I think I could get away with actually spending 3 or 4 days of the week in the camper van, just travelling around beautiful locations. As long as I've got a good Wi-Fi signal, there shouldn't be any reason why not. So I've yet to do it, but that's the plan. Simplicity is going to be on the road soon. So.
I like it. On the road.
Road trip.
To a road near you.
Yeah, exactly. Just park up, come on in. I have a table and a chair and a laptop.
You'll be taking your daughter with you.
And she can stay in the office. Someone's got to look after the chickens.
Yeah, good point.
And light that
Dogs
candle.
will come with me. I like that candle, absolutely. Yes.
I mean, it is interesting that you do work with your daughter. I'm not sure how I'd fare working with my mum.
We
How's
talk about
that?
this a lot, actually. It's quite an interesting thing because when was it? Monday night. So my son turned 23 at the weekend. So we had a family night and extended family came round for dinner. And it is different. We talk about this, that actually my daughter's called Rachel, and the Rachel that you get in a family situation with board games and glass of wine in hand is very different Rachel to the one that's in the office. And she's very similar to me, which is helpful and unhelpful all in the same breath. However, I really like the way it's shaping because she's got energy and passion just as I have about helping people and educating people, and being her age, and she's mortgage qualified as well. She's really keen to help support millennials looking to get onto the property ladder and just education generally, because let's face it, who gives education around how to invest into a pension or an ISA at school? Nobody. Unless advisors are willing to give up their time, it's still very, very few and far between. So I have some of my clients, and I'll mention it now when I talk to clients and say, oh, well, I've got Rachel in the office now, and they'll say, oh, my daughter's at uni just coming out, can she have a chat? And she's absolutely fine with that. So
You must be very proud. I mean, that's,
yes. Does it come
that
across?
is, that is young to be, well, no, but you should be. I mean, that's fantastic.
It's
At 26
amazing.
to be, qualified and following in your footsteps like that, that you would think, I've done something right if my daughter wants to help people in the same way that I have. So
Thank you.
It's incredible.
And it was interesting. Her journey didn't start down the road of being an advisor. It was actually to become a doctor. So she went off to medical school. And a year after starting medical school, she realised it wasn't for her. It wasn't all Holby City and casualty. It actually was really hard work. And she thought, actually, this is literally going to be life or death decisions. I'm not sure this is really me. And decided to switch to economics. Not quite sure where she got from medical or medicine, I should say, to being an economics graduate. Anyway, she did that and then stayed in her university town and became a qualified. Well, she joined an IFA firm, became qualified after a couple of years, and lockdown was the reason why she ended up back in Milton Keynes again, where we live, and she decided that it was just, life was too short. She wanted to be closer to family. She was in Norwich before, so moved back. And then I had that decision to make. I just started the business. It was just over a year old. Do I employ her or do I send her somewhere else? And in the end, I couldn't think of sending her anywhere else. We created a way of making it work. And she's been with me best part of 10 months now, and I can't imagine her not being there now. So
That's fantastic.
Great.
The Medigold Health Group is one of the UK's most trusted occupational health and wellbeing providers, helping businesses to keep their people in work safe and well for over 2 decades. Delivering services including absence management, employee screening and mental health and wellbeing programs to more than 2,500 clients, looking after 3 million individual employees. Twice winners of the Big Business of the Year award at the Northamptonshire Business Excellence Awards, Medigold Health are redefining corporate healthcare through their commitment to clinical quality and technological innovation, and supporting businesses of all sizes to succeed in achieving their workplace wellbeing goals. Rachel, you've got 2 daughters.
Yes.
It must be hard being a woman in the business world. What do you picture for them by the time that they're starting out on their careers? How would you like the world to look to them? I mean, Samantha's obviously witnessing her daughter in that now, but in the future, what would you like to see?
I have absolutely no preconceptions for what I want for them, other than genuinely just to be happy with what they're doing. I remember going for a work lunch where I last worked, and there's a group of us that all just had children, various differences in age, and perhaps a few years between them. And I remember sort of them say, I'd like so and so to follow me and go into law, and somebody else said, well, they're all kind of doctors or lawyers in my family, so I would imagine that's and sort of everyone was saying sort of these professions. And I just remember sitting there, I said, my daughter will probably be a pole dancer and I'll be quite happy as long as she's happy. And I was like, as long as she's happy doing it. At that time, she really did enjoy dancing around poles. You take her to a playground and she's the one swinging herself around. I was like, I think that's a logical career choice for her.
Might be able to make quite a lot of money.
I guess so. I was like, and that's cool. That's fine. So I think, I genuinely, I am not focused on sort of my brother feels very differently to me and is very glad that he's the godfather, that he gets these decisions to make, that, well, hopefully, he does have some control and my children aren't, going to go off on the wrong career path. But no, I do think, as long as they're fundamentally happy, I really couldn't ask for more. And actually, we had a parents' evening the other week, and the teacher said, this is the eldest who's obviously started school. She's so kind and caring. And I think, well, I can't ask for more than that at this age. If that's the person that she's becoming, that's what makes me proudest as well. It's the fact that she's so sort of thoughtful and caring. So I don't know how it's going to look in the future. But as long as they do something that they enjoy, get satisfaction from, and I hope, I think the way that we raise them, they will feel this, but I hope that they don't feel just to go into a career that sort of gives them a certain lifestyle or a certain, because it isn't about that. It's there's so much more to job. Well, money makes life easier. I think everybody can accept it makes life easier.
Gives you choices.
Absolute choices. It does not make you happy. And it's kind of making sure that the children can understand that, and make sure that they choose career paths at things that they actually are passionate in. I'd recently gone to a school in Northampton Academy that had won a lot of the awards at the Education Awards. And I'd given a breakfast talk to some of the students there, and they were sort of asking me about sort of career paths and how did you start it off in law. And I said, well, actually, I did an English degree and then did the law conversion because my careers advisor said, do a degree in something you're going to enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of thing, you just need to start with a career path or start with your GCSEs that you think you're going to enjoy. Don't do it because you think it's going to take you on a particular path. Do the ones you think you're going to enjoy doing, and that then translates through to A levels, degree level, and then take it from there. So I think it can be quite organic. I think there's probably certain careers, law isn't one of them actually, but there are probably certain careers where you need to have a very defined path. I imagine medicine.
I would say medicine, dentistry, architecture, that would be a very defined career path.
Whereas I think there's other careers that it can be more organic and fluid.
I think that's the interesting thing, that we need to help the young people who are coming through the education system understand, because I think there's been a one-track mindset about it has to be all roads lead to uni. Actually, do you think that, Jasmine? But does it really?
Does it need to?
I mean, I'm old enough to not to need to have had a degree. I was lucky enough to fall into banking. I went and had a year abroad, which was great. It was my bit of independence. Came back and joined the bank. Had all intentions of continuing either with education or going back abroad. Probably the latter, if I'm perfectly honest with you. At 19, I ended up in the bank, and actually it was the bank.
There was no sunshine there.
No, sadly not. But it had choices. Funny you say about money. Actually, it then led me to have my independence because I was earning an income. But after I had my children, it was time to use the grey matter, and that's then when I started doing all of my exams. So I was able to train up on the job. It's quite interesting with this whole university. I watched then my children go through this, as I say, one-track mindset, having to go to uni. Both of them did, fortunately. I mentioned about Rachel changing, and she fell into something she really enjoyed. My son had exactly the same thought. I'm going to go to a uni that A, I feel comfortable in, and B, do a degree that I really love. And now he's following his passion. I know we're not talking about men today, but it's just children and young people in general. It does need to be something that they really enjoy. And with me, I had that little itch needing to be scratched that I hadn't been to uni. And I think it's again because in my own head, it was like, I'm a woman and I never really knew what I was giving up at that time in the early 90s. So I did a master's in finance last year just because, and completed that. And I'm like, that's to one side. But that's also, I don't know how you ladies feel, that's also a thing in my head that to be credible in my profession, I have to have a formal degree. Now I had a degree because I'm a chartered financial planner, but that didn't mean anything to lots of people.
People ever ask, did you feel that?
No one does.
Completely self-imposed pressure.
It's like, and I completely know that it is. It's just so strange. I mean, I even bought some certificate frames only 2 weeks ago, thinking I really ought to put something on the wall because I've done all this, put myself through all this pressure, and it's just tucked in a little envelope with "Please do not bend" on the shelf. It doesn't do anything else. So it's crazy. And I think that's the thing we need to help people understand, that there's so many different choices out there for people.
Absolutely. It's absolutely that is the case with law. There are so many different options. You do not, there isn't, it's not the straight law degree route. I'm sure these teachers were probably ready to kill me when I went and did this talk, because I'm saying, don't really need to go to university to have a degree to do it. In fact, we're going to come out with there's a lot of debt, and it ultimately you can qualify in different ways now. So, but I completely agree. It's kind of not all just a particular path, university, that. And in fact, one of the best lawyers I ever came across was completely and utterly non-qualified. Not one qualification.
Brilliant.
Just strategy and logic, and she was absolutely amazing. She's she was incredible. So just
my
goes to show.
daughter is 4, and I'm very intentional because I did go to uni, I got a degree, and a couple of my sisters have got masters, and I'm like, hell no, seriously, I ain't doing that. I'm like, I might do a further, because I'm a trainer, I might do further training, kind of coaching related qualification, but I'm just not a great student. I'm a last minute .comma, pull an all-nighter, but I'm able and can do stuff, but I'm just like, I definitely put myself through the masters. But with my daughter, I'm just and I was having this conversation with somebody, I'm just looking for what is she gifted in, what does she enjoy, and that's what I want to encourage her to do, and what going back to your original question, my hope for her when it comes to the future is that she just feels that whatever she wants to do, she can do it.
Yeah.
Pretty much, she's like, Mummy, I think I want to be a doctor because I like taking care of people, and I want to be an astronaut. And I'm like, great, darling, you go do it. Like, do all of them. Because I
great.
just want her to think that the world is her oyster.
Yes.
I don't want her to feel that her gender is what will hold her back. I don't want her to feel that her ethnicity is going to hold her back. You decide what you want to do, set your mind to do it, and you go do it, darling. And Mummy's got your back. That's what I want her to think. And that I'm going to help her in whatever way that I can. And her dad too, we'll work with her to achieve. My husband comes from an African background where they do very much believe in, you need to go to university, you need the qualifications, and he doesn't have a degree. So he's very much of like, that's the problem, I don't have this qualification. So he's got that mindset. And I know for him, that's something that I'm sure he'll go and he will get the degree in the end. And maybe that will help him. But then I'm like, is it really that you don't have a degree that's hindering you? Or is it that your belief that you don't have a degree is what's hindering you more than the reality? Because I'm like, you look at entrepreneurs, because, I've read books and you just look online, study whatever. Entrepreneurs who are hugely successful, they're such a mixed bag.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Some have barely got any education at all.
Yes.
Richard Branson, I really admire him. Not a woman, but I still really admire him, And I think, did he barely get GCSEs? He was dyslexic, and at the time when he was at school, dyslexia meant you were stupid. So he hardly got any education. Very successful, very astute man. We can tell by his results.
Yeah.
So for me, I just think it's about, actually, let's not have these obstacles. My daughter may want to go to uni. If she does, great. But I definitely don't think it's the path. Like, I've got a degree in politics and history. Ask me what's going on politically. I just about know about Ukraine having a war. Seriously. Like, it's not my forte, politics and history. I enjoyed it, but it's the history side that I went in it for. But, it's just like, okay, it's good to have. But does it really do a whole lot for me? I don't necessarily think so.
What I long for is a world where any woman can turn up for a job interview and know that they are being hired for their merit alone and their merit alone.
Well, I have a very good story on this, actually. So when I was poached from the present, my previous employer to my present place of work, I was first approached by telephone from a recruiter, and I knew at the time that I was in the very early stages of pregnancy, but didn't want to say anything because I thought, no, I'm, too early on. And we are talking, a matter of weeks pregnant here. Okay. So I thought, no, okay. So I sort of said, okay, well, not interested, because I was very happy where I was. And he said, okay, I'll send you some information through. I thought, okay, fine. And I knew the firm. That was the thing that interested me. Yeah. So he called, they'd like to see you for an interview. And I'm like, well, I'll see, just give me a few more days, just let me think about it. I waited for my 12-week scam, and I called the recruiter in absolute full confidence that he was going to turn around to me and say, yeah, don't worry, they're not interested. Because I'm telling them I'm, 3 months pregnant. So of course they're not interested. Why would they be interested in recruiting a partner who is just about to go off on maternity leave? So I thought, well, I appreciate it's going to be a no-go. So I call and say, look, just so you know, I'm actually pregnant. I'm 3 months pregnant. And he said, okay, leave it with me. I'll come back to you. 20 minutes later, he called back and said, yeah, I've spoken to them. They're not bothered. They really want to see you.
That's amazing.
And that alone was the thing that made me think, this is where I want to work.
Yeah.
And that was an all-male partnership at that point.
Oh, wow.
We since have, there's two female members now.
That's good.
But at the time, it was an all-male partnership. And I remember thinking, that says everything that I need to know, because it wasn't a bar. It wasn't a, you can't, you're not joining, because you're female, you're pregnant, you're having a family. We know that you have more to give than just kind of, being a mum. It's, that's something you do, of course, and you want your most important thing in my whole life, of course. But they saw something else, and I think that says a lot about them, and what they could see. But I also think it says a lot about how things are changing. I'm not saying it's quick. I think it's changing. It's happening.
Because women shouldn't have to choose,
No, definitely
why,
not.
when we are doing the most important job in the world, which is bringing life, why should we be forced to choose between the career or, progressing and having a family?
And I look back, perhaps to my grandmother, and I think, well, I have absolutely zero doubt that she would have been just as academically able as we are now. No, you know, but she just didn't have, it just wasn't the option. She was a really smart lady, but just, you know, we came from a, you know, working class mining background. It wasn't an option. She couldn't do that. She couldn't go to school. She couldn't go off and, you know, go to university. Yeah. But now I think it would have been a very, very, very different path for her. And I think that's, you know, things, I'm not saying it's happening quickly. I don't think it is, but I think there is a sea change.
It's not been that long in history when you think about it, has it? Where we had our mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers fighting for giving us the vote, for heaven's sake. And here we are now, you know. And interestingly, when I chose to leave my corporate position was actually as a result of being targeted as a female to go through the coaching I went through. Because they wanted to consider having more women into MD positions and beyond, but it had the opposite effect. What it made me realise is that I wasn't being true to myself. It wasn't just at that time. Sometimes I think if I'd have stayed, perhaps I could have changed things from within, maybe. But actually, I'm really delighted I'm able to actually do it in the way I want to do it. I have a little story, though, of a previous bank I worked in London. I'm trying to think, quite a long time ago, well over 10 years ago.
Got name and shame.
No, I can't. I could, because they're no longer in existence, but they're a very small private bank in Belgravia. I'll say no more. They're no longer in existence.
We're all Googling after this.
But I wasn't there very long, and the reason I wasn't there very long is that the person that had headhunted me to come in, he actually didn't stay that long, so therefore I didn't really have anyone that I could relate to, and there was a lot of the old boys style network. But it was when I was brought in one day just for a general catch-up meeting, and the HR manager was in the room. I think this is a bit odd. Why have we got an HR manager in the room here? And it was just to sort of pull me up over my brightly coloured clothes that I wore. I just sort of looked down and I thought, was it really that bad? I mean, am I turning up in really inappropriate clothes? No. I looked across to this lady HR manager and said, what am I meant to wear then? She said, grey or black suits. Okay, right then. And promptly found a job quite quickly afterwards. But it was just interesting how the view is very much the opposite of how I feel we should be showing up in our true authenticity. If I want to wear bright coloured clothes, fine, as long as obviously I'm covering everything up and it's smart and appropriate. And I still feel like that today a little bit. I suppose that sort of tainted me, because as I see people as advisors, really, especially men, like real suits with ties done up really tightly, and I say, oh, where are you going today? You know, what type of client are you going to see? Is it in a professional office? No, I'm going to someone's house, and they're a retired couple, for example, and I just in my head think, I wonder what they may be thinking about the fact you're sat there looking completely different to them. Perhaps they'll feel a little uncomfortable. But I say no more because I don't want to offend anybody. But it's just that incident has really stayed with me. And now I make sure I wear clothes that I feel that is appropriate to the audience I'm going to see.
That's really key. We did our very first summers camp for teen girls this year, and we did it hybrid, online in the morning and in-person sessions in the afternoon. And during one of our online sessions, I'd asked the question, I think for the icebreaker, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I got an answer, and I'm just like, oh, I've got to write that one down. The response from one of the young ladies was, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but I know who I want to be.
Oh, I love that.
And just like, I felt it. Because I was just like, oh my God, that is such a beautiful response. I want to be kind. You described your daughter, and she had qualities that she knew she wanted to possess as an adult. Wasn't sure on what career, but she knew who she wanted to be. And I just thought, as you were saying, that really is something I think we are missing in what we're moulding our young people, our young girls, especially, I'm going to say, it's International Women's Day, we're celebrating that to be, because, they're so caught up on, I always talk about, the ability to contour and look perfect and filter and, give this illusion of perfection, whatever that may be, and to be having this rock star, I don't know what words to use necessarily, lifestyle, but who are you? You know, are you a person that someone would want to be their best friend? And it's like, you know, the personal aspect of things. I do think there's a lack of focus on that, and I think it's got such an imbalance.
And I think that's the problem with social media. I know we're not here to talk about social media, but that's the
thing.
problem with, you know, look, hey, I'm very out of date and I have never been on any kind of social media. So I believe it's all now sort of, it's Instagram, isn't it? And it's, you know, TikTok, etc. But so it's not something that I've ever been involved with for a very, very specific reason. Because I do believe that is misrepresenting real life.
Really
So
is.
my real life this morning actually consisted of trying to get 2 children to brush their teeth, my 7-year-old crying because I was brushing her hair too hard, with me saying, well, if you brushed it yourself, it wouldn't be a problem, you know, scraping her hair back and, you know, kind of wrangling children out of, you know, it's this real life isn't a snapshot. It's not, you know, so I think, you know, the postings that you see on, I mean, obviously, because I see things that are on social media, and, you know, it's not real life. And I think it's almost perpetuating a false myth about a lifestyle that people have and are living. And I think it puts pressure on people, women, to attain that lifestyle. But that isn't real. It's a second in time before, you know, suddenly everybody's then breaking away from that perfect snapshot, that perfect pose, to suddenly start, you know, kind of arguing with one another, or, you know, the children screaming. So I'm really, you know, keen just to sort of focus on reality rather than what is kind of, you know, so it's pretty much what you're saying, focus on kind of, you know, being genuine and authentic. And
it's nice because I have a challenge, because my team are always like, you know, you need to do more on social media, and I'm like, because I have in my mind this, the fakery, I ain't got time for it. But realizing that actually, you know what, there are some people, thank goodness, there are some people that are really genuine, and I don't necessarily follow them to a great degree because I'm not big on social media, although I have a presence. So like Stacey Solomon, she has like a massive following on social media, and it's largely because she is someone that will really show you what she looks like in the morning, and she's not just showing this perfection and this, oh my God, I'm so, you know, amazingly contoured and I look like this all the time. And so people really do resonate with that, and therefore they follow her in the droves, because yes, you've still got people that have the illusions of perfection appearing and being followed in great numbers, but it just shows that people want reality. And so my challenge is actually kind of retraining my brain to think, actually, Jazz, just be you, just show up. And I had a challenge, I'm gonna have to challenge myself again to get on there, of just posting each day, like with a message, you know, what I tell my younger self, that kind of thing. And I did it for the month of October, and so sometimes I do it at night, you know, I did it with no makeup, because my thing was, I've got to put makeup on every day I'm like, I can't be bothered with that. And then actually I showed up and I was like, had no makeup, and you know what? It was fine. So it's like, you don't have to conform to that. And again, it's just kind of realizing this mask, take it off, just be who you want to be yourself, and let that go.
And then everybody looking at that will go, I can breathe. Because I'm like that too. That person, I so get that person. Exactly. It does worry me about the, as you say, contoured eyebrows and everything else that you see on
the pout. The pout.
That you can tell that the picture's been taken from up high, so it looks good and there's no chins and things like that.
10 million shots to get that perfect.
You're just trying to say that is not the picture that was taken on the way to this office, which was at a very odd angle. Looking slightly deformed and...
Yes, that's true. Coming into the office, I did that.
We that's what we're going to be promoting. That's why that's there.
Don't do it.
Thanks, as it was taken, Fraser said, "Say cheese," and I did. And I just had this grin, which was quite amusing.
I tend to step away from that because I don't need to see that at 8 o'clock in the morning.
You know what you look like.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't need it.
Jazz, you were saying about that lady, that young person that was out, said she knows how she wants to feel or how she wants to be. I think that's amazing.
Isn't
it? And also it came on a camp you mentioned as well.
Summer camp we had,
Summer camp, because I'm a scout leader, and one of the things that I'm really passionate about is the fact that you can show up on a camp, no makeup, you know, clothes that have got mud all over them, and it really doesn't matter. And I think that's helped me be grounded in the career I've had as well. But you do see true authenticity when you're wet, when you're cold, when you're tired, and you just, you know, tempers fray. Not us, because of course we're leaders and we're great. Well, of course they do. We just don't let the kids see it. But then you see them, and it's the whole of humanity playing out in front of your eyes, and it is just really fascinating. And it's co-education traditional scouting now, so you've got boys and girls together, and I just love watching them grow into really grounded young people as they go into their adulthood.
What I would love to know is what this girl's parents, what tools, what support they've given her for her at that age. We didn't actually establish her age. Maybe
she was 18, 19. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow!
At that
so
age,
she's an adult then.
To have that view and have that, I'm really keen, because that's my thing. It's we're raising, for me and for you actually as well, Jasmine, raising young families. Obviously, your children
Mine
are
a bit older
now. It's kind of whenever I see what I think are very sort of lovely children, adult children. How have you done this? Tell me, what do you do? How do you get from this point I'm at to where you're at? And it'd be really interesting to know the sort of support. Obviously, you'll never know, but it'd be really, what do you say? How do you nurture that as being that real value, that self-worth?
Yeah.
We were on holiday the other week, and I took my littlest girl to a spa treatment, which is really ridiculous.
Oh, I love that idea.
And I said to the ladies, so it was a sort of joint treatment, and I said to the ladies, this is totally ridiculous introducing her to this at this age. I mean, this, and the ladies said to me, no. It shows you are showing her what self-worth is. And I thought, I like that. That makes me feel completely less ridiculous about doing this. She was sitting there enjoying it. And I think it's about that. It's about us understanding what our worth and our value to ourselves is. It's
So from a money point of view, as women, we tend not to spend money on ourselves. We feel guilty. We got families, we got partners, husbands, whatnot, and we're going, no, we can't spend money on ourselves. What do you mean, have my nails done? Oh my goodness, no. How much? Can't go to the spa. But actually, the healthy way to do this, and this would be good to introduce, is if you've got income coming in, to divide it up into different pots. So you have your traditional essential expenditure pot, you have maybe your longer term savings pot, then you have a guilt-free spending pot that you put a percentage of your money into, and the whole sole purpose of it is to spend it on yourself by the end of the month, whether that's a massage or
so hang on,
header.
it's an attainment, it's a target.
You've
got to spend it by the end of the month. Okay, suddenly I love this.
Absolutely. And it could be 5-10%. I mean, I do a program with which I build my coaching and my money coaching into with my financials. So I kind of meld the three together. And as part of that, one of the tools that we give is to help people understand how to budget correctly and how to actually move money as a flow, really. So money comes in, and actually you shouldn't just leave it pooling in one place. It should be designed to be divided up into different areas, so that it's a healthy way of being able to treat yourself, know your self-worth. And it is very much down to that, because we don't do that on ourselves. And that's where then we start to go into careers and we start doubting ourselves. Imposter syndrome comes in. So it's just like a little tiny tool to help with that side of things. And if you're introducing your daughter, is your 7-year-old that you took, was it? I can't imagine doing that. I just remember my mum putting me in leotard and going to Jane Fonda classes. That's about the closest I got in the 70s to that kind of thing. But anyway,
it was also not the way I was raised, just to be absolutely clear.
I felt really grown up with these leotards on, I have to say, but it was no spa treatment, but never mind.
Well, it's like with my daughter yesterday, we went out for dinner. So I'm doing my makeup, with my husband's turned 40 yesterday. So we're going out for a nice meal. And then my daughter's like, Mummy, I want some of that on my eyes. She's 4. And so I'm really like, but if I'm doing my Mummy, I want that. And obviously, I'm just like, just let her enjoy it. So I did. I put a little bit of eyeshadow on. She's like, Mummy, do I look beautiful? I was like, no, you don't look beautiful. You look more beautiful because you're already beautiful.
Goodness.
And so I'm really intentional about her understanding makeup doesn't make you beautiful, darling. You have that naturally. What the makeup does, is not even talking the word, like, it accentuates your beauty. Can you say the word accentuate? Like she's 4. Accentuate, But I want her to understand she's building on what she has, but it's not what makes her. And it's like, people might think, she's 4, like, please. But you think it starts when they're really young. I get my daughter saying affirmations. So she'll tell you, I am smart, I am kind, I am beautiful, I am strong, and I can be anything.
Oh,
my 4-year-old, because I understand the difference that they made for me when I had self-esteem issues. By confessing these things over myself daily, it helps me just find myself and view myself in a healthy way. And I'm like, let's start while they're young. So I think it's great that you've got her understanding that our body is our temple, so we need to take care of it. That's actually just pouring back in to what we take out when we have a massage. I taught a session on that, talking about how to, find life's balance. And it had a really beautiful image of like a bucket and, what comes in and then what comes out. And we, work and gym and all these things, they actually deplete us. But what are we putting in? And I think as women, we're really bad, kind of what you're saying, with that pouring into ourselves. And when we do, it may be more the clothes and the makeup, but actually, does that really replenish me? No, but the massage does.
Yeah.
So that's actually really, really good, I think.
I often think exactly what you're saying. There's so many tabs open in my brain. There's so many different things I've got to, gifts for people, presents, birthdays, kind of on top of everything else that you've got going on. So there's often a lack of time for us.
And that's my goal for 2022. I've said do less to achieve more, because I've realised, 2021 I ran myself ragged, and I'm like, I did achieve things, some really great things, but I'm still like, I was really tired. So I'm just like, right, this year hasn't started off too great. It's been a bit busy, but I'm like, okay, I've got to pull it back as soon as I can, pull it back to my mindset, because I'm like, I need to just have time for me. I want to be able to read my book every night before I go to bed. I mean, little things, just create that time for myself. Earlier this year, I was like to my husband, right, that's it. No disturbances. Whatever you guys want to do it. I'm in the room, leave me alone. Like, literally.
Do not talk to me.
I want just peace and quiet. And it's just important just to carve that time out for ourselves.
And mindfulness can come in many different things as well.
Yeah.
So you can be mindful by doing, if you're a creative person, or even if you're not, but actually find something creative, that can be incredibly mindful. So I learned how to paint in lockdown, and I love that. I love or anything to do with mosaicing, knitting, anything that's kind of doing it. But I'm thinking it's switch off time for me as well. And that's really what I want to continue doing. That you were saying about slowing down to be able to be more productive. Somebody said to me recently, you slow down to speed up. And I was sort of thinking about it. Yeah, actually, if you think about, you slow down, you pull back and a slingshot or something, you actually pull back slowly, let go, and suddenly you can speed up. I thought, yeah, that's so true. So I keep thinking that in my head, slow down to speed up, so that I can replenish. But as you say, it's I think part of it is knowing it. The next step is doing it. But the fact we know it is great.
That's a big step, isn't it?
We can at least then try to do it.
Yeah. I certainly, this year, my change has been going to bed earlier. So I used to have to wait, and I felt like I had to wait till my husband went to bed. But he's a night owl by default. That's what he does. He doesn't, he likes to have a little slice of cheese before he goes to bed and stuff, just chill out. I thought, I don't really want that. And I was so tired in the morning, and I get up earlier than he does. I thought, right, I'm just going to go to bed. So it works out really well now. So I get the sleep, and I think that's also part of it. If you get that replenishment of sleep in you, you're able to then help other people in your jobs, in your families, wherever you're helping, basically.
So thanks for that, Samantha. It's been lovely talking to you ladies today. So just to finish off, one last question. In one word, what would you use to describe International Women's Day?
I think for me, I would say it's to inspire each other.
Lovely.
I think I would say empowerment.
Lovely. And you've got the difficult one because you're the last.
I can't pick one.
Yeah.
So can I be greedy and have three? Focus. It's a chance for us to focus on women, to celebrate the wonderful achievements that we've made. And I think also to inspire us to achieve more, to do more, and to be more.
Thank you again for taking the time to join us. And Jasmine, Rachel, Samantha, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We all want the bare necessities of life. To have a place we can call home. To have a family that's happy and united. To have protection for your loved ones. To have a good job where you're valued. But life is full of ups and downs, and sometimes we all need a bit of friendly legal expertise to smooth things out. Visit our website to find out more. Wilson Brown Solicitors. We're all the help you need.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to Samantha, Rachel and Jasmine for taking the time out to join us in celebrating International Women's Day. Join me on next month's episode, where we'll be discussing all things finance.